I'm the director of Make the Road Nevada. We started as an organization in 2017, and we've been on the ground organizing our community, working to advance really great policies to make the quality of life for working class families and immigrant families a much better one all across the state. So our legislative priorities since the beginning have been earned paid sick days, passing, raising the minimum wage, housing justice, tenant protections, and also police accountability, and primarily taking care of immigrant families. This agenda wasn't selected by us. This agenda was selected by our members, and they stuck by it, they fought for it, they learned all about it, and we believe that when we do that, that we're creating the leadership in the community that doesn't exist today as strongly as it should. One of the key things that our members really never forgot was who in this community has been doing really well, even through the economic downturn and post in this recovery phase. It's big business. It's big business from all different types of sectors, and these are the same folks who came out during this legislative session and tried to rally against earned paid sick days, against raising the minimum wage, against housing justice. They're the ones who told our working families that no, our profits come before your families. As we saw in this legislative session, and we've seen time and time again when Make the Roads members show up, that Make the Roads members win.
Once again, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming on this bus trip and being as dedicated as you have been to trying to make sure that Nevada is the best place possible for working families and working people. So otra vez les quería agradecer por toda su dedicación para hacer este.
In February, it was still snowing up in Carson, and I think that just shows the determination of our folks was the fact that, you know, these folks that some of them had never traveled before, so this was the first time traveling anywhere outside of, you know, Las Vegas, and they went up on this 7-8 hour bus trip that's not easy, and it's not very comfortable to be sitting there for 7 or 8 hours up to Carson City, and it's snowing, and it wasn't like a sprinkle of snow, it was like a lot of snow, you know. So I remember we told folks, you have to pack for the cold, and they were so determined, and they were out there. And I remember we did a little rally in front of the building, and they rallied, and we got excited, and we went into the building, and we talked to the legislators. And again, I think it just shows the determination of our folks who were just so happy and excited to be there to tell their stories and their experiences.
Well, my name's Cyril Mendez, and first off, I just want to say thank you for supporting your sick days. It's really important. As you can see, I have 2 boys. It's really, really important. I remember when I was pregnant with my second child, I got, so I have anemia, and I remember when he would be sick, it was really hard for me to stay home, because just when I would just miss like 3 days, it wouldn't be enough to buy groceries for my whole family. And then when I don't have food or milk to feed my child when they're babies, it's really crucial. And they wouldn't get the health that they needed, and that's why it's really important. Right. And that's why we need to pass and sick days.
Of course, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
You had to take away from a lot to even be here, so.
Yes, we came all the way from Las Vegas.
Immigrants time together!
We are having a housing crisis. We've seen many Nevadans that are overburdened by rent, the cost of rent. We're seeing that the rent is increasing, and we already know that wages are stagnant. So there's tons of families that are being pushed into the homelessness because they can't afford to pay for rent.
One of the most important bills that died this session was SB 398. And all that would have done was it would have empowered our local government, our county commissioners, our city council, to have more tools in their toolbox to take on this issue. It was really disheartening to see that realtors and corporations won the killing of that bill. And we were blindsided by it because we, throughout the legislative process, thought that that bill was going to pass. It was an easy one, you know, to continue the conversations with our local elected officials. What can they do in Clark County? What can they do in Elko? What can they do in Washoe? But unfortunately, that bill died. And what was really good at the end of the day was that we did get SB 151 out, eviction reform, with added tenant protections.
Personally, I have seen in my own neighborhood alone, every year, rent going up, people leaving. We have to consider whether or not we'll have to move or be able to afford to stay in our own home.
During my time teaching, there are various parents that come to me day in, day out, expressing their concern in not being able to afford their home.
Keep on doing that, and you're going to continue to bring others along with you. Thank you.
Really common sense things. We have the most inhumane, one of the most terrible eviction processes in the country, where literally within 4 days you can be evicted after missing your rent. Landlords have extreme flexibility as to what they can do, and it really puts 200,000 Nevadans on the verge of homelessness. So for us, this legislative session was so important to work with groups like Action and the Homeless Alliance to really take on how do we not only share the stories, but what is the right policy. So we need to make sure that come next legislative session, and in the interim, we will continue to speak up and share these stories and have strong housing justice legislation moving forward. AB 275, in my opinion, the most bold and progressive immigrant rights bill that passed this session, because currently people who at the moment don't have a legal status, who are waiting for their work permit to come in the mail, or who for some reason just don't have status, they're not able to obtain professional licensure. And many licensing requires currently, before AB 275, a social security number. But what we learned in this fight is that legal statuses are fluid. Because the immigration system is broken, one time you could be documented status, but you could also fall out of status.
I'm the Economic Justice Organizer for Make the Road Nevada. I want to start by thanking the committee for the opportunity to speak. I am here today because I am in favor of AB 275, because as more and more DACA recipients and dreamers complete their secondary and post-secondary education, increasing numbers will seek to receive a license to work in their chosen field. We need to ensure that all who seek professional licenses have the ability to contribute to the state. AB 275 will help the state of Nevada see return investments by opening up who can apply for professional licenses. I urge you to give all Nevadans the opportunity to prosper and give back to our communities professionally. Thank you for your time.
To me, this was a personal issue for me because I'm directly affected, but I know it affects thousands of people, that a social security number, 9 digits, does not define how much you know or who you are. So we were so happy that Assemblywoman Selena Torres was able, in her first year in office, pass this monumental bill where other states are going to learn from, and it makes our economy stronger. It's common sense, and there was opposition throughout, but how could you deny people's dreams, deny people's passion to continue to contribute in our community? At the end of the day, what it does is it unlocks the potential of our immigrant communities and ensures that they can continue to contribute to their state.
People all over the valley work hard just to get by. Well, hard news to swallow tonight. There will not be an increase in minimum wage this year. In fact, the minimum wage in our state hasn't changed since 2008.
So when we started talking about the minimum wage, we started talking to people at the doors over a year ago about the fact that in order to actually support and sustain a family, you have to earn a minimum of like $17, $18 an hour. And so now we went into the legislative session under the real assumption that we would get a measure passed at least $14 an hour, because we had that option, and then potentially into the ballot in the next year. But when Democrats said we're going to present a bill, it came down as $12 an hour.
Yeah, it was AJR 6 was the intent at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But then all they had to do was pass it out of both houses and then let the voters decide on the $14 an hour wage.
Yep.
But they didn't do that. They came back to us with $12 and this long implementation process, right? That was really frustrating. And as someone who, I was a campus director at Make the Road, and that's what I started off as. And everyone was in total agreement that $8.25, $7.25 is not a wage. It's not enough. It's not enough to keep a roof over your head. As it is, most of our family's income goes to housing. So it goes hand in hand. Not only housing justice, but also a livable wage.
I am a DACA recipient, which means I do not qualify for FAFSA. I do not qualify for any student loans. So I'm basically paying out of pocket for my car insurance, for my college payments, paying rent. I can't, it's not affordable for me to be doing this. Plus, I'm working 12 hours a day trying to, provide for myself, and I can't do this with just the minimum wage.
I'm going to be voting no on this bill. As a small business owner, I understand the implications of raising the minimum wage.
Being an executive director of a nonprofit, we have just 6 employees, and I will tell you that all of my employees make much more than this minimum wage. And it's not like we have a business where we can just adjust our cost, because we value our employees and they have health benefits. And we just think it's very important that the employees that are giving other folks help aren't the ones having to show up for help.
So over a year ago, we started organizing within the community's Puerto Rican space and really talking to Puerto Ricans about what are some of their needs. And because of that work, we actually stumbled upon over a dozen Puerto Rican refugees, different families who had fled the island after the hurricane. And the stories they told us were just heartbreaking. Stories of losing everything, having to defend their homes against looters and violence, and running out of water, running out of food, running out of shelter. We had the amazing stories of 2 of our members who specifically retold what happened to them on the island.
I came here after Hurricane Maria. I have 2 sons here. They helped me out because things in my island were critical. The last thing I imagined is that coming to Las Vegas, I was going to go through such a hard time to get a way to move around, to find a job, to be able to drive a car. I'm here to ask for help for this to change.
Mi nombre es María Isabel Álvarez, soy de Puerto Rico. Vine a Las Vegas porque el huracán María se llevó mi casa y estuve padeciendo mucha dificultad, y a través de unas amistades que hay aquí en Las Vegas vine a residir con mucha dificultad, no solamente por el idioma, porque no hablo inglés, sino por la licencia. Cuando fui al DMV, no estaba en español, me colgué 3 veces, lo pasé a la 4ª. Y todavía estoy sin licencia aquí en Las Vegas, siendo ciudadana americana de Puerto Rico.
The fact that these are American citizens who were put through this disaster, but the federal government's response was consistently putting hands in their face, telling them no. Where FEMA wouldn't open their cases, they couldn't have access to driver's licenses. Many of them had to drive to Arizona to get an Arizona license, come back and transfer the Arizona license to a Nevada license. We and our members were the ones who helped inform that campaign, inspire that campaign, and drive it home. And we not only took this driver's license bill through Carson City, we also took this bigger campaign on Justice for Puerto Rico to our federal delegation, where all 5 of the Southern Nevada folks, 3 members of Congress and 2 senators, committed to us in the Puerto Rican Association that they are not going to vote on disaster relief bills that don't include the island. In Nevada, there's roughly 17,500 plus Puerto Ricans. In the grand scheme of things, they're a small group of people, but they're all Latinos, they're voters, they're people who matter. And thankfully, Make the Road, the Puerto Rican Association, and a bunch of our allies stood by us. And we actually have a great story in Nevada to show that Puerto Ricans are welcome here, the refugees are welcome here, no matter where they come from.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! What do we do? Stand up, fight back!
The Clark County Detention Center can see the immigration status of anyone who comes through its system. From there, it's able to notify ICE agents of people's immigration statuses. Now, the protesters here, they say that this agreement, it simply is not fair. They claim that the sheriff's office is turning over every illegal immigrant to ICE, despite the crimes that they're accused of. Metro Police says that this partnership, it works to protect the community, that it's another tool in their belt to keep and remove illegal immigrants that are a threat.
In early February, right at almost the start of the legislative session, I remember that we stood in front of Metro's headquarters here on MLK, along with Arriba Worker Center, to expose how low-level offenses were being processed into deportation. We were glad to be working with Assemblywoman Selena Torres, who pushed AB 376, and it passed one house. And then it gained support from a lot of our coalition and the Nevada Immigrant Coalition as a good first step, that we needed ICE transparency to know how is this relationship with Metro, expose how that's working. And to me that was really frustrating, because this was the easiest thing they could do, was be transparent.
And so 287G allows us to be able to identify an individual, and if it's necessary to have that individual removed in order to keep the community safe, then we will employ that tool for the purpose of keeping the community
safe. Throughout the legislative process, Metro specifically did not want to be transparent with their data. We've been fighting along with Arriba Worker Center, along with the Nevada Immigrant Coalition, to hold police officers accountable. We have so many people being detained for minor things that when they are detained, when they are in custody, they don't know that the person asking them questions, that officer asking them questions, is deputized under ICE. So this bill, AB 376, changes that, so that they have to inform you why they're asking you these questions, and anything that you answer can lead to your deportation.
So another really big systematic win was AB 345 because of what it means for Nevada's elections. And we right now have a system that disenfranchises thousands of Nevadans, makes it hard and puts a lot of burden on the voter instead of the state, in order to provide as many opportunities to participate as possible. And so the passage of AB 345 really modernizes how Nevada opens access to the ballot. It's a really important win, and as immigrants and Latinx voters, we need to really uplift this new opportunity to ease access to the polls. And one of the other conversations that we've had and our members have had was around the census. Our legislators, specifically Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson, decided that Nevada had to make a stand. We had to take one. And we had to stand on the side of immigrant families and on the side of making sure that every single Nevadan counted. And so part of his legacy was to present AGR 6, which would send a message to Congress that the citizenship question on the census would undercount Nevadans, and it was irresponsible.
Amazing things to witness as part of seeing the youth come together. Part of the Youth Power Project, we've seen them gathering from weekly meetings all the way to actually going all the way to Carson City and talking to legislators and not listening to any comments about you're too young or you don't really have a voice. So one of the most exciting part was when we worked with the youth was that we got to take 2 buses to Carson City It was over 90 students that came together and really like committed to the community, took time off and really showed up for the community. It was really amazing to really see.
So hello, my name is Mira. I am 17 years old. I'm here with McDowell, Nevada and Camp Anytown for the Youth Power Project. I'm here in Carson City to lobby for AB 168, which would implement restorative justice. It's important to me because it will make sure that schools are more safe and that students are held accountable for their actions, and when they get in trouble, they wouldn't be sent to the criminal justice system. I hope to accomplish to make sure that a lot of our representatives, senators, and the people that represent us in our state will be in support of AB 168 and make sure to end the school to prison / deportation pipeline.
AB 168 gave us and gives us the opportunity to start talking about restorative justice as a form of what discipline should look like in our schools, so that discipline is always a learning opportunity for our students who are being overly criminalized in school, creating this pipeline directly into prison and sometimes deportation proceedings. And what they were doing was not only highlighting the importance of this bill, testifying, tweeting things about it, and they also learned by tracking these bills the extent of the problem here in the Clark County Public School District and across the state, and seeing that Black and Latino students are overrepresented when it comes to discipline disproportionality. So AB 168, they tracked that bill. They tracked AB 490 that was also passing out of the Education Committee. That really, the intent of this bill, which did pass as well, was to expose and bring transparency to what are students being ticketed for, what are they being suspended and expelled for. We really need to understand that to be able to have stronger discipline policies in the future legislative sessions.
Okay, good morning. You all got on the bus at around 9 p.m.-ish, got here at around 5:30. Let's get some energy. So we want to welcome you to Youth Lobbying Day.
This was my first legislative session here in Nevada, and the first person that I had the honor and opportunity to meet with was Assemblyman Tyrone Thompson. He was introduced to us by Professor Velazos and said, you have to talk to Assemblyman Thompson because we were interested in how do we do work on ending school to jail. And we were there with him, and he was a person that was just larger than life itself. He knew right away what you were all about, and he made it less scary. I was really happy and excited that our youth fellows were going to be able to support his bills because of his drive to ensure that our community thrives. When he passed, it was disbelief. We didn't know, we couldn't believe that. And what I did know, and what I felt strongly was that everything he was working on in his vision for what our community needs to be and needs to aspire to be, we had to continue that legacy for him. So I was really glad that Assemblywoman Selena Torres was able to co-sponsor AB 168, that AB 490 also passed, and all his initiatives on not only ending school to prison, but also speaking up for the homeless and the people on the verge of homelessness. He was a champion for housing justice as well. He got up every day with the intent to empower people around him and to improve the community. And I do believe that it was also because of his leadership in Camp Anytown, as being someone who was a part of Camp Anytown and singing with us and showing us that song and making it, empowering those youth that day as the Youth Lobby Day to get up there and testify in what they believed in and speak their truth. So thank you to Tyrone Thompson for doing that.
This legislative session session was really powerful. We got a lot of folks, again, mobilized up to Carson City and just even here locally in Las Vegas to Grant Sawyer, to the different committee hearings. And I think you were all able to see during these committee hearings that there was really nobody in opposition, which I think showed the good compromise that we were able to come to as a community, which unfortunately, it's still very bittersweet because so many people are still being left out of this very important policy.
Mi nombre es Amparo Cruz y tengo 16 años viviendo aquí en Nevada. Estamos aquí en la lucha para que nos paguen los días de enfermedad. Sí, lo que yo pasé fue que mi hijo de año y medio le dio leucemia. Y entonces nosotros, mi esposo y yo, tuvimos que vivir en el hospital y del hospital al trabajo, del trabajo al hospital, y teniendo un hijo en casa que nuestros familiares nos ayudaban a cuidarlo, y hubiera sido bueno que por lo menos una semana hubiera sido buena de estar concentrados en los niños y no tanto en el trabajo, y no tuvimos esa oportunidad. Por eso estamos aquí en esta lucha.
We did a great job at making sure that folks are telling their stories and telling their experiences, because this has been something that's been in works for years, for multiple legislative sessions, and we just got it passed this session. We also got national attention from it. We were able to speak with some Democratic candidates running for presidential office, and I know Jose was able to tell a story.
As a son of immigrants, I've seen my family, my parents work day and night really hard to make sure that we had everything. I just wanted to see that our families deserve better. We lost our mother because it wasn't fair, the system that had been created. She worked day and night, not having able to call off work because she fell sick and had to go to work. And I think if we had some earned pay sick days, is something that we're pushing here a lot in Las Vegas, in Nevada. And she will have the opportunity to at least call off to do checkups. And I think that if we fight for an economic justice that includes living wages, affordable housing, that people can actually have earned pay sick days where they can get checkups and stuff, families wouldn't be going through what we did. I lost my mom. Thank you. I think it was really powerful, just because I didn't just owe it to myself, but I owe it to the memory of my mother. Because if it wasn't, because if it was if we had something like earned pay sick days 5 years ago, I knew it would have been she would probably still be alive today.
We did a lot. How are you feeling?
Well, I am feeling optimistic. I'm feeling empowered. I'm feeling that we have a big responsibility to ensure that the leadership keeps growing, that people, when they walk into the space at Mejor, Nevada, will feel what empowerment feels like every time that they walk into that space, and that it doesn't just stay there, but that it transcends into the work that we do with coalitions.
And that's what Make the Road is. It's about building community, and it's about showing for one another and showing love for each other. And I think that the community has a commitment of being there for everyone, and I think Make the Road has shown that from the leadership that the members have to really step up and really show that love for the community.
Jose talked about love, and that love is going to continue growing, and that love for and passion for justice will only continue to grow.
This session was historic for many reasons. I mean, it was the first female-led majority in any state in the country, and we got a Democratic governor for the first time in over 2 decades. Dems had control of the session again in forever. So I think it was also just like a very big learning experience for everybody in and out of the building of how we are all working together like grassroots organizations and coalitions with our elected officials, and what does that mean and what does that look like?
One of the most important things that we saw is that we got to mobilize different communities, from the oldest to the youngest. Like taking a bus of over 90 youth was really like power, and then just seeing families coming together with the little ones, moms, like grandparents. It was really powerful to see, and one of the most important things is that they got to really know the power of sharing their own story. I think the only question I have is like, ¿se puede o no se puede?
Sí se puede. ¿Se puede o no se puede? Sí se puede.